Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of Mentorlogues. Today, we have with us Barbara, and she's here to talk about how to turn overwhelm into productivity and peace. Over to you, Barbara.
Thank you, Asha. And also thank you, Thrive with Mentoring, for this wonderful opportunity to present today on a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. And I think for a lot of people, it's also quite important. I just want to give a shout out to Thrive with Mentoring because I think it's such an amazing organization. I've been involved with Thrive with Mentoring for the last 3 years, first as a mentor, and now I'm a cohort lead for the Lausanne cohort. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for women to come together, to network, and to really learn and discover new things about themselves with this wonderful opportunity to be together. So once again, thanks to Thrive with Mentoring. I would like to just say that it's a delight to be here, and I want to start with my slides to show you the first thought that I have, and that if you're here today to talk about turning overwhelm into peace and productivity, I would imagine that this topic is very important to you, that you have some questions, some issues that you want to work out. And I would just like for you to take this moment now to kind of check in with yourself, take some deep breaths, to really feel where you are and what is going through your mind right now. I know that sometimes when I join a session in the middle of the day, I have multiple windows open on my browser. My phone is pinging me for different messages, and it's very hard to concentrate. So I would just like for you to have this moment where you're breathing deeply, you're really conscious of the time. I'm also very grateful and thankful to you for taking this time. And it's a gift for yourself. It's really a gift that you give so that you can explore and learn some new things today. I would just like to introduce myself, a little bit about my background and how I got involved with this type of topic in the well-being space. My background really is in human resources. I've worked for many years in corporations as an HR director, helping people in all areas of HR. And about 3 years ago, I decided to go out on my own and become an HR consultant. I'm also a career coach, and I'm very interested in the topic of workplace well-being. And so that's what I've been involved with for these last couple of years, as I've been gaining more and more knowledge and experience and delivering programs to organizations and helping people thrive in their workplace. It's my mission to really connect people to a more human workplace and a fulfilling career. I saw a lot in my career as an HR manager and director, and I saw that the workplace was becoming a bit more unhealthy and not really allowing people to do their best work. So I have decided to really help along with that. I also do training on different topics, sometimes on communication skills. I'm also a trained resiliency trainer with a program called Verdant Resiliency that's based in the US. And as I said before, I'm a mentor and currently a cohort lead for the Lausanne cohorts. What I'm going
Barbara,
to be
before you start, I just want to make sure are you presenting? Because we can't see your slides yet. So
Oh,
maybe
you
you want
can't.
yeah, if maybe you want to just represent. I think we lost it for a second. So
Okay. Oh, sorry about that.
there you
You
go.
see, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So today the agenda is very simple. There's 3 parts to my presentation. The first part is awareness. The second part is self-organization. And the third part is about boundaries. And I would like to say that I have experienced all of these different parts in my own life. I've had moments of overwhelm. I still do. And I have worked very hard to learn about different tactics and ideas to help with that, to manage my time and to really be focused so that I can do my best work. And the goal really is to reduce your feelings of overwhelm. And by the end of the day, it's important for you to take control of your life and really be focused on what you have to do to make things better. without really having control over all of the external noise and obligations that you have. So let's talk a little bit about awareness. It's very important to be aware of where your overwhelm is coming from, because until you're aware and until you know the reason why, then it's very much sometimes out of your control that you can deal with these things. It's important that you have the issues at hand and you understand that it's something that you can impact. A lot of times people talk to me and they say, I just have so much to do. I don't know where to start. It's just impossible for me to get caught up. Then they actually often lean towards a burnout or something like that. And it's important to start at the beginning and kind of dig deep into these reasons. So I'm going to go over some of the main stressors and triggers that lead to overwhelm. The most common thing for people who are working is an excessive workload in a stressful work environment. And it's really a good idea, I believe, to understand that there's so many elements that contribute to an excessive workload or stress in the work environment. This list that's on the screen right now shows you a couple of the different points that you should take into consideration. Obviously, the demands of the job, where in a lot of organizations, they've downsized and they've reduced the number of people that are doing the same amount of work. And so the quantity of work that you're handling is extremely excessive. You also are often unable to control the way that you work. That's frustrating because you might have good intentions to get started on a program and do some projects, and then all of a sudden you get hit from the left side to do something else, and it puts you off track, it puts you behind, and that lack of control is really frustrating for a lot of people. In other cases, you don't receive enough information or support, and that is something also that is extremely frustrating and overwhelming for people when they're trying to move forward with different work and they don't have the information at hand that they need to do their work. There's conflicts with relationships, with the hierarchy, with colleagues. It's extremely frustrating and difficult and overwhelming to deal with these different relationship problems that happen simultaneously to these other points that I've already mentioned. Many organizations, in fact, I think all organizations now are dealing with a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty, and that in turn falls down to all of the employees who have to manage with that uncertainty and that ambiguity. And then something that I hear very frequently is there's confusion about an individual's role and responsibilities. This is something that I think it's part of the work environment now, once again, dealing with ambiguity and uncertainty. The confusion comes in and people don't know if this work is for them or if it's for one of their colleagues. So that is also extremely frustrating. Then we have, outside of the work environment, a lot of different other stressors and triggers that you all probably are very familiar with, such as family demands, relationship conflicts, difficulties or breakups, financial problems, health concerns, and so on. This list is very complete, and it shows, once again, that when we're overwhelmed, it's not just maybe the initial idea that we have in our mind, but there's a whole host of other subjects and points that we need to take into consideration. And just having that awareness and understanding really helps us to develop a plan to deal with these things. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about time management pitfalls. And in my view, the number one time management pitfall these days is technology. It's a huge factor because it's something that has taken over our lives, and we live with the technology every single day. We're kind of ruled by our smartphones and the messaging and the alerts that are going off all the time for us. And some of it is obviously necessary for work-related reasons. There's many tools that we use from a technological point of view that we absolutely have to have in our lives, such as email and team collaboration with tools such as Microsoft Teams or Slack. So you can't necessarily turn those things off, but there are ways that you can master that, and I'll give you some tactics to do that a little bit later. But then we also need to look at our approach and our relationship with social media, because social media has really sort of invaded our lives in a way, and I'm not sure that many of us have control over, or maybe not control, but awareness and intention over our social media use. It's very easy to get sucked into this sort of social media spiral, and before you know it, you lose a half hour here or 15 minutes there. We are often wanting to just check in. We think, oh, we just have a little bit of time to look at something for an update, and next thing you know, time has gone by, and that contributes to our overwhelm because it actually takes us away from maybe some of the more important priorities in our schedule. Another really important time management pitfall that I see is perfectionism. It's something that a lot of us battle with, and it's really the pressure that we put on ourselves is incredible. It's helpful to be aware of this issue and become aware of your tendencies in terms of perfectionism, because the overwhelm that we face, the impact of perfectionism on that is that it actually drags us into a longer cycle of doing things where we're just trying to get the last thing just right. And so we take more time, and more time until actually our schedule gets away from us and we don't have control over that. It's important with perfectionism. You can allow yourself to make some mistakes, and you can focus on meaning over perfection. There's a saying that good enough is better than perfect. And so we have to allow ourselves, we need to cut ourselves some slack, I believe, so that we can accomplish the things that we want to do in the time that we have, and not be focused on a perfect end result, but be content with what we are producing. That's important, I believe, in terms of managing our time a little bit better. I've also highlighted a couple of other time management pitfalls, such as multitasking. I know that I'm victim to that, where I will have, as I said, multiple windows open on my browser. I will have, a call going, and then I'll be looking at a report and doing something else simultaneously. Or even just the way my mind wanders into different things. I catch myself quite often doing that. Disorder is a time management pitfall, because when we have disorder around us, we don't know where things are. It's very difficult. You often waste a lot of time looking for things so that you can be productive in your day. And that is something that you can address, and something that you really can make an impact on. Then we have failing to prioritize. So when we don't prioritize our tasks for the day, we kind of catch the wave of whatever is getting our attention at that particular moment. And next thing you know, as I mentioned with the social media use, you kind of get carried away into other areas, and you're not really producing the things that you want at the end of the day. And then there's this feeling of frustration and overwhelm at the end of the day. And then the fourth point on this slide is overcommitting. So we overcommit to too many activities. We think, oh, we can't say no to that person, or this is an interesting activity, but maybe it just doesn't fit into your agenda in terms of all of the other things that you have to do. So we have to be aware of our tendency to say yes to too many things that really cause us to be overwhelmed. And I've found in a lot of cases that people will follow through on the events and activities that they've committed to at the peril of their own activities. They actually don't do the things that are important to them because they've committed to a lot of external activities. So I would like to share some ideas to help you set up your day. These are different ideas that I've practiced over the years that have helped me manage my day a bit better. It's also some things that I've learned about through coursework that I've done. And I think that these are ways that you can control your destiny on a daily basis. I will preface this section by telling you that I'm fully aware that there's a lot of external demands that you are facing every day and that you don't always have full control over your schedule. And that is something that we'll talk about in the third section about boundaries. But this is really what you do have control over. And by setting up your day in a way that works better for you, it will enable you to go more towards a peaceful existence, to feel a sense of accomplishment and productivity. The first point I would like to speak about is the energy and attention audit. Probably most of you have done this already, just naturally, you know your mental cycles, but it's important to be cognizant of when you are at your best, when you're the freshest, when you have the most energy. Are you a morning person, or do you work better in the evening? Are you somebody that likes to kind of wait to the last minute, or are you liking to work, you prefer to work much more in advance? It's also important to be aware of the tasks that you have to do on a daily basis, whether some of them are low attention or high attention. And that will help you match a bit better your energy levels and your focus with the tasks that require a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And so the other thing is that often when you're working from home, if you have young children and you have them around, then obviously focusing on a high attention task at that time is not going to be possible. So try to schedule your day around your energy and attention levels and when you're at your peak. I'll go back to talking about prioritization, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Prioritization is really important because it enables you to list what you have to do and then prioritize in the order of importance. And often our lists are very long. There's no possible way that we can finish everything in one day, but we can go through those things one by one. And if we get through the top 3 on the list, then that would probably contribute to a great sense of accomplishment for that day. But failing to prioritize and keeping everything kind of fuzzy in your situation, in my experience, leads to overwhelm because you never really feel like you're progressing on anything that you have to do. The power hour is an interesting concept. And, once again, this is dependent on whether your work schedule allows you to do this. But the power hour is scheduling 1 hour in advance on your daily agenda, where it's a focused, super productive hour that you just focus on some very important tasks, probably the tasks that are on the top of your prioritization list. And during the power hour, it's to take off all distractions, turning off your phone and any alerts on your computer so that you can focus on getting things done and moving ahead, which really is also contributing to a sense of productivity and accomplishment. The Pomodoro technique maybe is something that you've already heard of, but that's quite comparable to also the power hour in the sense that it's really meant for you to be super productive during this time period. So what the Pomodoro technique is that you set the timer for 25 minutes, and during that 25 minutes you work for really intensely at the task at hand without any distractions. And then once the timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break, and then you repeat that cycle about 3 or 4 times. And that also enables you to move forward with a productive schedule where you're really accomplishing work that you need to get done without distractions, because the distractions are the things that pull you out of that sort of mental space. And in my experience, that is really what causes you to be overwhelmed, because you're not moving forward and accomplishing the things that you have to do. Paying yourself first is, once again, similar in the sense of this also is related to an investment strategy where they say when you get your paycheck that you put money aside for yourself first, and then you pay your bills afterwards. And this is an opportunity for you to set aside an appointment for yourself every week. And this isn't necessarily for the tasks that you put on your prioritization list, but this is more for long-term accomplishments and development. Often when you want to develop yourself in a certain skill set or competency, such as learning a language or doing an online course or even reading a book or something like that. But you set aside this time in your schedule so that it's kind of sacred for you. It's a time as an appointment as you would for any other type of appointment, but it's with yourself, and you stick to that you don't just break the appointment because a different offer comes along. You refuse other appointments at that time slot and say, no, I'm busy that time. And this is very helpful for your personal development, and really achieving some of your longer term goals. Inbox zero, this is an email technique that I use. And once again, I used to have the tendency to receive emails all throughout the day and respond pretty much immediately, which would in turn take me away from the work at hand that I was doing. And then I would get distracted, and then the project or the other work that I was doing would fall to the wayside. And what I do now is I actually turn off my email notifications, and I set a time every day where I go through the email, and it's recommended to set aside the same time if possible. So maybe a morning or end of the day type of thing. And then you kind of have three folders that you handle your emails. One is your main inbox, where you go through the emails that you're allowed to, or you're able to give a quick response to, where people are looking for a response and it's easy for you to handle that. The second would be a need response folder, where you have to reflect on something or you have to research something, so you have to get back to the person a little bit later. And then the third would be for you to either delete or archive other emails. So if it's a subject that you don't have any interest in, it's a solicitation or some other topic that is really not relevant to you, delete. And if it's something that maybe it's a newsletter about a career related topic that you'd like to look into, but you don't have the time, archive that for the future to read when you have a little bit more time. That's a very effective way to keep your inbox down to a minimum. I also recommend a hard stop to the day. And this is something that was really, it came about a lot with people that I was working with during, especially during home working during COVID, because people were on their computers at home pretty much the whole day, and their work days ran over into their private life, and people didn't always turn off their computer as they would if they were in the office going home for the day. And so there was a lot of fluidity in terms of how people were working. It wasn't very set, and it created a lot of problems and mental health issues for some people that I've talked to, because they were always on, they were never logging off. So this was very problematic. And there are some techniques that you can practice in terms of the hard stop to the day. So maybe you can develop a routine where you finish up whatever you're working on, obviously sign off your email, and then arrange, sort of clean up your desk and arrange things so it's orderly for the next day. Write your to-do list for the following day, and just be a bit more zen when you leave the office or the work situation for the day, and try as much as possible not to log back on or to look at emails after that hard stop to the day. And then the final idea or tactic that I have to share with you that works very well is doing a brain dump before bed. And what this is simply writing down a list of things that are on your mind. And this could be work related, but also could be all of the other tasks that you have to deal with in terms of your schedule, for all of the other commitments you have in your life. And just dumping that out onto a piece of paper really helps a lot to kind of offload that from your brain. And I find also it contributes to a better night's sleep, because I had some issues in the past where I didn't do that. And those issues were coming up in the middle of the night and kind of ruminating. I was ruminating on them, and it was disturbing my sleep. So the brain dump before bed is really helpful. I would like to talk now about boundaries, because the tactics that I just shared with you were things that you can manage yourself individually, and that's great. But obviously, we are social beings and we're interacting with other people all of the time. And boundaries are a really important part of managing your overwhelm and feeling more peaceful. This slide gives you a good overview of why boundaries are really important. There's just no question about the fact that having boundaries, being self-aware, sort of the points that I talked about at the beginning. So having that self-awareness, and then sort of protecting yourself in these elements is extremely important for you to feel more peaceful and more at ease and comfortable with the choices that you are making. And the last point on this slide is about ensuring your time is allocated to activities connected to your values. Now, I know that that's a bit of a dreamy statement to say that all your activities should be connected to your values, but um, I will say it's sort of a ideal that we would work towards, to have the activities that you are performing every day be in alignment with what you value. And to explain that in more detail, this slide is very helpful because I found that when I talk about boundaries with people, they often think of maybe physical boundaries or time boundaries, but not many other things. And this slide gives you an idea of how many different kinds of boundaries we can have, from emotional to comfort, energy, mental, and so on. I mean, there's so many boundaries that we can set where we can decide that this is not comfortable for us, and we have the right to say that I don't want to get involved in this situation right now. Thank you, but it's not doesn't work with my schedule. This goes back to the overcommitting that I talked about earlier. That we sometimes feel a sense of obligation or kind of pressure to get involved in something, and we need to kind of let that go and be more at ease with our choices, to pick and choose the activities that are aligned with what we want to do and how we want to show up in the world. So be aware of your boundaries, think about them, think about where you want to devote your energy and attention. And I can guarantee that when you do that, there's a lot more alignment, a lot more comfort in terms of how you operate and how you get through your daily existence. And I want to end on the concept of self-compassion. So this is a concept that comes up all of the time in terms of the work that I'm doing in the well-being space, but also just in personal development as well. And I think that very often we're very hard on ourselves in terms of what we have committed to, what we feel our obligations in life are. But be compassionate to yourself in terms of feeling that you're doing the best possible. You're putting forward the best effort possible with the best intentions, with a benevolence and a kindness. And that benevolence and kindness towards others also should be applied towards yourself. So, with the topic of overwhelm, if you can turn that around and follow some of the tactics and ideas that I've shared with you today, develop your self awareness, but in turn, also be kind to yourself, realize that you're making the best effort possible, then you will feel better about your situation. And that is it for me. I want to thank you for your attention for this all important topic, and I hope that this has been helpful to you. I also want to once again thank Thrive with Mentoring for the opportunity to present today on this topic, and I look forward to future Mentorlogues with some other amazing mentors.
Thank you so much, Barbara. We don't have any questions as so far, but then I can see that a lot of people have been joining, and I'm sure everyone have found your entire presentation extremely insightful, as did I. So we'll let you know if we have any questions in the future. But everyone who's watching and everyone who watches later, please leave your questions in the comment section below, and we'll make sure that Barbara can go ahead and answer it on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thanks,
See you in the
Sasha.
next vlog session, and have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.